Hello and welcome to Creative License, the place for interviews and performances from local artists representing the best talent in the DMV. I'm your host, Angela Harvey, and today my guest is comedian Ian McDermott. Thank you for joining us. Ian is a DC-based comedian known for his comedy duo, MOTHERKNUCKLE, and they are known for their absurd and surreal performances. Can you tell us why people categorize your performances as absurd and surreal?
So, MOTHERKNUCKLE, we do not do normal jokes with punchlines. We usually use music. We usually have costumes. We usually have dance. We usually have rhythm in what we're saying. We're tired of the normal stand-up structure. So we try and subvert that and cover various topics, use each routine as a single concept and carry it on through 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, to give the audience a performance that is unlike anything they've ever seen.
So tell us a little bit about how your group got started and the other member in it.
So it's kind of a classic story where we were in rival comedy groups at the University of Maryland. My comedy group was the group full of people that got rejected from his comedy group. So there was a lot of resentment in my group towards his group, but I never tried out for his group. So I was always cool with the rest of them. And we saw each other at various comedy competitions in college. And we both said, I respect what that man's doing. And by the end of senior year, we had talked and eventually decided to do a DC Capitol Fringe show together. And that sort of got us collaborating and went on from there to continue doing shows outside of Fringe, just live open mics, live stand-up, and almost sketch, but not quite.
Okay, and what type of topics do you guys usually cover in your performances? We
cover everything. We're sort of a satirical group, but I don't mean that in solely political satire. We kind of poke fun at culture in general, the absurdity of the internet age. We will work some politics in, but in the past year we've kind of avoided that because everyone's getting so bogged down in this election. We thought we'd bring a little levity and brush that stuff aside. So we'll talk about things like cats, like kombucha, like yoga, like strange surgical procedures that you would not want done to yourself. And we like to bring sort of like a mystical aspect to our comedy, connecting the audience beyond just this physical plane into what a greater reality could be and is, perhaps, we don't know. We like to explore.
Oh, wow, that sounds very interesting. So have you guys opened for any big names?
We have. Among others, Reggie Watts, Tim Heidecker, Brett Gelman, Lauren Lapkus, and Tig Notaro. We often get invited to perform in the DC comedy festival called the Benson Ball, which is curated by Tig Notaro, which many might be familiar with. She's sort of a name now established in the comedy world. And so we end up getting to open for big names through that out of like a curated process.
Okay, so you guys are based in DC, but do you get to travel around?
We have traveled, not as frequently as I'd like. We're trying to figure out maybe a touring schedule. But we've done shows in New York, Chicago, and I, by myself, went to Edinburgh, the Edinburgh Fringe Festival, which for people that don't know, that is one of the biggest comedy festival in the world, which is almost overwhelming, but a fascinating experience. It was quite enjoyable.
Okay, well, thank you, Ian. We'll be back after a short break.
What is the difference between a photographer and a visual artist?
Well, the difference is not a lot. To put it simply, I'm a visual artist. Okay, I use photography, but I use other means to express myself.
Montgomery Community Media offers many courses.
Half the people, getting to know these awesome people whom I work with and I'm learning with, and great teachers, and it's also like, oh, this is how TV works.
When I'm watching shows like talk shows or even, exercise shows, things like that, I look at it so differently.
That kind of like, there is a guy sitting at a giant board filled with buttons just pushing them. That makes sense.
We teach our students how to be the reporter, the shooter, and the editor for their very own news pieces.
This is a good opportunity to learn about different ways of documentary and editing.
My dad got an email from someone and he told me it was going to be a good opportunity to learn how to edit, shoot videos, and interview people.
It's really good, and you should come to MCM Backpack Journalism class because it's exciting and it's actually really fun.
MCM to me means opportunity. It's giving me the opportunity to gain experience on an actual show that airs on the network. And I don't think I'll be able to get that experience anywhere else. So it's been a great experience for me so far.
For anybody that hasn't taken one of the MCM classes, I encourage you, go out, try it, you won't regret it. You will have an experience that you're gonna see how the cameras work, and actually an opportunity to be part of video production. That's what I would recommend anybody that's interested in MCM.
Welcome back. We are talking to DMV comedian Ian McDermott. So how did you get into comedy?
Well, Angela, I had probably the most generic introduction into comedy that most comedians probably share. I thought that I was pretty funny. My friends thought I was pretty funny. And so there was a comedy group which did solely stand-up comedy in college, and I said, I might as well try one of their open mics. And that is one of the most common stories among comics, I believe.
And so how has being from the DMV affected your comedy style, and how do you characterize the DMV comedy scene?
So being from the DMV area, our comedy, like I mentioned before, we do a little bit of the political satire stuff. So being in this area, the belly of the beast, as they say, has definitely affected us with sort of a darkness to our comedy, but that darkness you have to laugh at, because that's the only way to not go insane. So we're trying to conquer any evil, the evil spirits in the area. And, sorry, what was the second part of that question?
So how is the comedy scene in this area?
The comedy scene has been really bubbling in the past few years. I really entered it after graduating, which was 4 years ago, and there was a tight community where everyone knows each other. It's small enough, it's much smaller than New York, LA, Chicago. It's kind of known as a training ground for comedians before you go to one of those big comedy cities.
Okay. And so tell us a little bit about your writing process.
So most of our routines have music set to them. So the way I sometimes describe it is it's similar to Tenacious D or Flight of the Conchords, but not quite, because we're not playing acoustic instruments. I will write out electronically full orchestration. And so the music becomes sort of a map or vehicle for us to guide the lyrics to. So we'll start with the music, then we'll see what kind of lyrics fit in with the rhythm. And then, we'll go back and forth together, polish it up, and then see what crazy costumes we can wear, or what crazy concepts, or if we're going to want a projection up on the screen with animations.
So you guys compose your own music?
We compose our own music.
Do you play instruments as well?
Not as well as I used to. So I'm writing the music score and letting the computer take hold of that, choosing different instruments within the computer. But I can play a little piano and some guitar when I need to.
And what type of costumes have you used in your shows?
Ooh, there are a lot. We've got doctors' costumes. We got yoga balls. We got kitty cat costumes. We got pillows. We got ponchos. We got everything. It doesn't matter. We'll find it if you suggest something right now.
Clouds.
You don't have to. Clouds. Next routine, clouds.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, your show's found very interesting. Have you ever bombed a performance?
I have bombed a performance because we use music. This was a solo routine, but I told there was a part in the music where I say cut the music, but the music itself pauses itself. I left a gap of silence, and I specifically told the DJ not to pause the music when I said pause the music. And you couldn't really hear the music, so I started kind of bombing already, and the audience was upset. But I couldn't tell them to pause the music because I told them not to pause the music, even if I say pause the music, because part of the music was a pause in the music. And so that just dug me deeper into the bombing, and the audience had no idea what was happening because you couldn't hear the music. But I said pause the music, and so I bombed.
So you guys were able to finish the show, right?
Yes.
All right. Well, thank you for speaking with us, Ian. If you'd like to see more of his comedy, go to his website, ian-mcd.com. Come back to Creative License for more artist interviews and performances. Thank you for watching.